dimly lit high school hallway, lockers lining both sides, overhead fluorescent lights flickering, long shadows stretching across the floor, eerie stillness, 16:9, cinematic, photorealistic. It was late October of 2016, my sophomore year of high school in Pennsylvania. That day had been completely normal, classes, lunch, the usual hallway chatter, until the last period. I was in history class, sitting near the back, half listening to my teacher talk about the Cold War, when the loud, sharp buzz of the intercom cut through the room. A classroom corner with students crouched low, blinds drawn tightly over windows, teacher locking the door quickly, tension in the air, realistic lighting with a faint orange glow from hallway lights spilling in, cinematic, 16:9. We all expected to hear the principal's usual announcements, but instead, a different voice came on, tense, hurried. This is a code red lockdown. Teachers, lock all doors immediately. Students, move away from windows and doors. This is not a drill. The room went dead silent. My teacher, Mr. Vaughn, froze for half a second before rushing to the door, locking it, and shutting the blinds. Everyone moved quickly to the corner farthest from the windows. You could feel the tension in the air, like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. At first, we whispered to each other, nervous guesses, asking if anyone knew what was happening. Then Mr. Vaughn gave us a look that told us to keep quiet. For the first few minutes, it was just the muffled hum of the heating system and the occasional creak of the building. But then, footsteps. Close-up of a classroom door with a small covered window, faint shadow of a figure standing outside, hand gripping the handle, hallway dimly lit, unsettling atmosphere, high detail, cinematic realism, 16:9. They were faint at first, coming from somewhere in the hallway. Slow, heavy, deliberate. The kind that echoed in an empty building. I looked toward the door. It had that small rectangular window covered by construction paper, but I could still make out a shifting shadow passing by. The steps stopped right outside our classroom. My stomach dropped. Whoever it was, they weren't moving. Just standing there. We all sat frozen, barely breathing. The seconds stretched painfully. Then, the sound of a metallic rattle. Someone was trying the door handle. It was locked, but they didn't stop. They jiggled it again, harder this time. Mr. Vaughn held his finger to his lips, eyes wide, silently begging us not to make a sound. After what felt like forever, the rattling stopped. The footsteps started again, but slower now, dragging along the hallway. We thought they were leaving, until a loud bang echoed down the hall. It was the sound of another door being kicked. Then another. Whoever it was checking rooms, maybe trying to get inside. Somewhere down the corridor, a girl screamed, muffled but sharp enough to send chills through my spine. Then a teacher's voice shouted, "Get back! Get back!" and the sound of desks scraping the floor filled the air. We all sat there, our hearts pounding. Mr. Vaughn was pale. Minutes passed. The footsteps grew distant, then vanished entirely. Still, we didn't move. The lockdown continued. Police officers in tactical gear walking down a high school hallway with lockers, yellow police tape in the background, cold fluorescent lighting, cinematic 16:9, realistic detail. It wasn't until nearly 45 minutes later that the principal's voice came back on the intercom, shaky but calm. All clear. Repeat, all clear. Teachers may resume normal activities. When the police finally allowed us to leave, the hallway was crawling with officers. We learned that a man in his late 20s had been spotted wandering the school grounds earlier. Somehow, he'd gotten inside. No one knew how. He wasn't a parent, staff member, or student, just some stranger. They never officially told us what his intentions were, but the rumors spread fast. Some said he had a knife. Others claimed he had been caught in the boys' bathroom, hiding. The truth? We never got a straight answer. Man in dirty gray hoodie standing outside behind yellow police tape, face partially shadowed, giving an unsettling smile directly at the viewer, blurred officers in foreground, cinematic photorealism, 16:9. But here's the part that really sticks with me. As we were leaving the building, I glanced down the hallway toward the exit. Standing just outside, behind the police tape, was a man in a dirty gray hoodie, staring directly at me. And even though there were cops everywhere, he smiled. This happened back in 2019, my senior year of high school in Ohio. It was a Friday afternoon, right before winter break. The energy in the school was high, people talking about their holiday plans, teachers showing movies, the usual pre-vacation vibe. I was in the library during study hall when the loudspeaker came on. Attention, this is a lockdown. This is not a drill. Teachers, secure your rooms immediately. The librarian, Mrs. Keene, quickly locked the doors and shut the blinds. Everyone scattered between bookshelves, crouching low. We assumed it was just a precaution, maybe a threat nearby, but not inside. Then we heard it. A deep, loud slam from somewhere down the hall, followed by hurried footsteps. Not the steady, calm steps of a teacher, these were erratic, quick, almost frantic. The footsteps stopped outside the library. My heart was pounding so hard it was all I could hear. The handle turned. It rattled once, then again, harder. Mrs. Keene mouthed, "Stay down." After a few tense seconds, the person outside stopped. We heard them walk away. We all exhaled quietly, too soon. About 2 minutes later, a loud crash came from the other end of the library wall, like someone had thrown something heavy. Then came a faint scraping sound. One of the guys hiding near the back whispered, "There's a janitor's closet right behind that wall." The sound continued, metal clanking, plastic shifting, and then, silence. After several long minutes, we heard the unmistakable creak of the closet door opening from the hallway side. The person had gone inside. What happened next is still burned into my memory. From inside the closet came a slow, deliberate knock, not against the hallway door, but against the wall that connected to the library. It was right behind the bookshelf where 2 freshmen were hiding. The knocking started slow, then sped up. Then it stopped completely. We didn't move. Nobody dared breathe. After what felt like hours, the sound of the closet door shutting echoed again. Then footsteps. Slow, heavy, walking back down the hall. When the police finally cleared us, nearly an hour later, we learned the school had been placed on lockdown after a man was seen wandering the gym area. The janitor's closet in the hallway had been found open, and some cleaning supplies were knocked over, but no one was inside. Security footage showed him walking toward the library hallway, and then disappearing from view for nearly 15 minutes. There were no cameras facing the closet. The scariest part? He was never found. And every time I pass that part of the school now, I can still imagine that slow knocking, right behind the wall. This happened in 2014 when I was in 8th grade at a small middle school in rural Illinois. It was the middle of February, bitter cold outside. Gym class had just ended, and we were in the locker room changing back into our regular clothes. The gym teacher, Mr. Ellis, was taking attendance when the announcement came over the intercom. Code red lockdown. Teachers, secure all doors immediately. This is not a drill. Everyone froze for a second before Mr. Ellis snapped into action. He herded us out of the locker room and into the gymnasium, locking the main doors. He told us to sit on the floor in the far corner, behind the bleachers. The gym was huge and mostly dark, with only a few of the overhead lights still on. The sound of the heating system hummed through the empty space. At first, we thought it was a nearby threat, maybe someone outside the school. But a few minutes later, we heard it. A single, sharp knock on the gym side door. Mr. Ellis didn't move. He just looked at us and shook his head, silently telling us to stay quiet. The knock came again, louder this time. Then, the handle turned. The door didn't open, it was locked, but whoever was outside kept trying, rattling the handle over and over. After about 30 seconds, it stopped. We all sat frozen, hoping they'd left. But then, from the opposite side of the gym, the other door rattled. Whoever it was had moved. and they were checking every possible way in. Mr. Ellis whispered for us to get lower, to stay completely hidden behind the stacked bleachers. For the next several minutes, the sound of footsteps echoed around the outside of the gym. Occasionally, a door handle would jiggle, followed by silence. Then, we heard something that made my stomach drop, the faint, metallic squeak of the emergency exit bar being pressed. We all looked at the far end of the gym. The red exit sign above the emergency door flickered slightly, but the door never opened. Either the bar was locked, or they gave up trying. The footsteps faded away. About 20 minutes later, the lockdown was still in place. We were cramped and cold, sitting in the dark, when suddenly, a deafening slam against the wall directly behind the bleachers. It was so loud, several of us screamed before covering our mouths. It sounded like someone had thrown their entire body against it. Mr. Ellis mouthed for us to stay silent. We heard another bang, then another. After the third hit, everything went quiet. We waited. The only sound was our breathing. When the all clear finally came, police officers escorted us out through the main hallway. They told us the threat had been handled, but wouldn't give details. Later that day, a friend whose mom worked in the school office told me more. A man had been spotted trying to get into multiple side entrances of the building. Security cameras caught him pacing around the gym, testing doors. The police found him near the maintenance shed on school property, but here's the part that gives me chills. He wasn't carrying a weapon. He wasn't yelling or acting crazy. When they questioned him, he simply said, "I was just looking for a way inside. I wanted to see the kids." And according to my friend's mom, when they asked his name, he wouldn't give it. He wasn't carrying a weapon. He wasn't yelling or acting crazy. When they questioned him, he simply said, "I was just looking for a way inside. I wanted to see the kids." And according to my friend's mom, when they asked his name, he wouldn't give it.